In today's video, let's take a look at some etiquette tips from Chinese tradition. 阿姨来吃饭了，请坐，请坐。您先。
Tables were simply boards balanced over trestles, it avoided tipping the long table and gave room to your neighbour. In times when the tablecloth was the napkin, it was rocketed during the Renaissance as a way of implying civility, sophistication. In the world, we use all sorts of different tools, including our hands, to eat.
Food is not just for survival, it's not just so that you eat with people.
With a single hand, it could be understood as a disrespectful attitude.
Hey guys, I'm Kyle from The Distilled Man, and up next we're going to be talking about table manners and how to avoid embarrassing yourself when you dine out with other people. When you hear the words manners or etiquette, I know sometimes you might just think of, rules that you blindly have to follow just for the heck of it. But actually, that's not the case. At their core, manners are just about being considerate and respectful to the people around you. Table manners are particularly important because, well, let's face it, there's a lot more ways to gross someone out when you're eating with them. When you're slurping and chomping and burping and splattering versus when you're just like sitting next to them on a train reading a newspaper. Because of that, table manners have always been a good tell about someone's overall refinement, their upbringing, and their sort of sensitivity and kind of self-awareness around other people. So my thought is, even if you don't practice impeccable table manners at home, it is important to know how to behave properly for those important occasions. Today we're going to be talking about some easy to follow guidelines that will help keep your table manners on point throughout an entire meal. Sitting down at the table. So when you're just about to sit down at the table, that's a great time for you to silence your phone and put it away. You don't want to be that guy whose phone is going off during a nice dinner. The other thing you want to do is make sure and wait for everyone to gather around the table and about to be seated before you sit down yourself. And you may want to take a cue from the host or hostess. The first thing you do when you sit down is generally put your napkin on your lap. And in really formal settings, you would actually wait for an indication from the host or hostess to do this, but in most settings, you're probably safest just to put your napkin on your lap when you first sit down so you don't forget. Of course, it should never go in your shirt. You should keep it in your lap, but your napkin is your friend, so feel free to use it throughout the meal to blot your mouth and keep it clean. Body language. When you're sitting down, your posture should be upright. You should try to avoid, slouching or leaning way back in your chair. Keeping your elbows off the table. So this is kind of a misunderstood rule. Of course, it isn't acceptable to put your, elbows on the table while you're eating. And in general, you want to kind of keep your free hand on your lap while you're eating. But it is actually acceptable to put your elbows on the table in between courses when you're not eating, and particularly after the meal. If you're just enjoying conversation with the other diners, you can put your elbows on the table, lean in, and it's totally fine. The place setting. Oh, the place setting. Nothing gives people greater anxiety than the place setting. You sit down and there's all these glasses and plates and implements. You don't know what's going on. It's totally overwhelming. Now, the first thing you want to figure out is where's my bread plate and where's my water glass? Because you don't want to be like sipping off someone else's glass or stealing someone else's bread. So I like to use this trick that my friend Dave showed me that's really handy. Just remember B and D. So B for bread and D for drink in your lap. And remember, don't reach across the table. If something is close enough to you that you can grab it and you're not reaching over another diner, you can feel free to reach out and get it. But otherwise, you're going to have to ask someone else to pass it to you. Can you please pass the salt? And on that note, if someone asks you to pass the salt, you always give them the pepper as well, and vice versa. Chewing and talking. You probably already know that you're not supposed to talk with your mouth full of food. And of course, you want to avoid making loud smacking noises or chewing with your mouth open so you bother other diners. And the easiest thing to do is really just to take smaller, manageable bites, especially knowing that you're probably going to be in conversation throughout the meal. Now, if you need to get something out of your mouth while you're eating, you can use your fingers as long as you're discreet. Just try to cover your mouth with your hand or a napkin so other diners don't see, and then just quickly put it on the edge of your plate. Eating foods you don't like. Okay, so what if you're at someone's house for dinner and they serve something you don't like? Well, the polite thing to do is actually to serve yourself one or two bites and just try it, and just hope that they're not too insistent about you loading up with seconds. Excusing yourself from the table. If you need to get up and go to the bathroom during the meal or, go away from the table for any other reason, you don't need to ask for permission. And you certainly don't need to tell everybody why you're going. Man, I've been drinking espresso all day and I need to pee like a racehorse. All you really need to do is just say, excuse me, I'll be right back. When you leave the table, fold up your napkin and place it to the left of your plate. And it's best to, you don't need to completely fold it into its original swan shape or whatever, but it's best to kind of fold it over so that you can kind of conceal any unsightly food stains. Being part of the group. Again, dinner is meant to be social, so make sure that you participate in the dinner conversation. And also take note if you find that you're eating much faster or much slower than the rest of the group. Checking your phone at the table. Hopefully this goes without saying, but checking your phone at the table or using it is just very, very disrespectful to the other diners. So if you, for some reason, you do get an urgent text or call that you have to attend to right then you've got to quietly excuse yourself from the table and take care of that without bothering the other diners.